My father's lawyer pulled me aside outside the church's side hall and whispered quietly, "Everything is being hidden from you. Your brother is lying to you. There is another will." Then he pressed a small metal key into my palm. Written on it in black marker were the words, Unit 214, Buckeye Secure Storage. I had just returned from my father's burial. Dirt from the cemetery still clung to my black coat. Inside the hall, people were eating potluck food, paper plates stacked with ham, potato salad and Costco cookie trays, and my older brother Eric stood in the center of it all like he was the only real heir to our family. I looked at the lawyer, Mr. Holland. "What do you mean another will?" My voice was very soft, but even I could hear the tremor in it. He looked straight into my eyes. "The will that was read today does not appear to be the final document. Your father met with me privately 2 years ago. After that, something changed. Suddenly your brother sidelined me and new paperwork began circulating through a different attorney. I was cut out of the process. I can only tell you this. What you believe right now may not actually be the truth." Something inside me hardened. Half an hour earlier in the family room, Eric had announced everything with clean, polished confidence. Dad's house, his. Dad's F-150 truck, his. The authority to sell the lake cabin, his. I was left with a small personal allowance, and even that would only come after probate closed. He said it all in a tone that made it sound like he was doing me a favor. Then he looked straight at me in front of everyone and said, "Dad knew Lily was never good with money. He wanted me to manage things." My aunt had lowered her eyes. My cousin Jenna had squeezed my arm gently. And I stood there feeling like a guest in my own father's life. Mr. Holland continued quietly. "The storage unit was in your father's name, but I'm listed as the secondary contact. Last week I received a renewal notice. That's when I realized something might still be stored there. Go check it. And don't tell anyone yet. Especially not Eric." I closed my fist around the key. Inside the hall I could hear Eric laughing. He was telling someone how Dad had always been a practical man, someone who never made emotional decisions. Right then I decided I wasn't going home. I got into my Honda CR-V and drove straight toward the storage facility outside Columbus. The sky was gray, March wind rattled against the windows, and I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my fingers turned white. Eric called twice on the way. Then a message popped up in the family group chat. "Where are you? People are asking for you." I didn't answer. Buckeye Secure Storage was simple. Chain link fencing, a keypad gate, and a small office window decorated with a fake plastic plant. A middle-aged woman at the desk asked for my ID. I showed her the key. She checked the computer screen then gave me a long look. "Units paid through the end of the month," she said. "You're listed as emergency family contact now." My heart thumped hard. No. Which meant someone had updated the record recently. Unit 214 sat at the far end of a corridor. The concrete floor felt cold beneath my shoes. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. I slid the key into the lock. The door rolled upward. And I stopped. There was no random junk inside. Everything was labeled. Clear plastic bins. 2 file cabinets. A wooden chest. A banker's box marked, "For Lily." And on the metal shelf in front of me sat a blue ceramic mug. The same mug Dad used every morning for coffee. Suddenly the unit didn't feel like storage space. It felt like my father's final testimony. I opened the box with my name on it first. On top sat a sealed envelope. My father's handwriting was on the front. I would recognize that writing anywhere, slightly slanted but strong. I tore the envelope open. "Lily, if you are reading this, then something has gone wrong." There were no chairs in the unit. So I sat down on the cold concrete floor. The letter wasn't long. But every line felt like it was landing directly in my chest. Dad wrote that after he became ill he began relying on Eric for many practical tasks. But within a few months he realized that his bank statements, mail and legal documents weren't always reaching him. He wrote that he had created a new will. In it, the house was to be divided equally. The cabin would be sold and the money split between us. And a separate fund was created for my graduate school loan. Then there was one line that made me stop breathing. "If Eric tells you I changed my mind about you, do not believe him." I tried to inhale. The breath didn't fully come. Beneath the letter were folders, bank statements, property tax notices, printed copies of scanned emails, a USB drive, and a yellow legal pad where Dad had written dates and short notes. Eric took my mail again. Did not let me speak when attorney called. Missing cashier's check copy. Lily asked about cabin. Eric answered for me. Suddenly so many things began to make sense. For the past year Eric repeated the same line at every family dinner. Dad gets tired easily. Don't stress him. On Thanksgiving he stopped me in the kitchen and said, "You don't need to bring up money with him. He gets confused." At Christmas he blocked me from entering Dad's study, saying he was sleeping. Whenever I tried FaceTiming Dad, Eric would answer the phone himself. He's resting. Back then it only annoyed me. Now I could see the pattern. I opened the file cabinet. Inside the top drawer sat a notarized document. Last will and testament. The date matched exactly what Mr. Holland had told me. My father's initials appeared on every page. Witness signatures. And there it was written clearly. All previous wills are revoked. Everything divided equally. I read that paragraph again and again as if the words might disappear. Then I opened the lower drawer. And something inside it filled my spine with ice. A manila folder labeled Home Equity Transfer Drafts. Inside were papers Eric had tried to use to transfer the house deed into his name. Some pages had shaky initials from Dad. Others had blank signature lines. One sticky note was attached. Did not sign. Felt pressured. My father had written that himself. I pulled out my iPhone and began photographing everything. Then I placed the USB drive in my purse. Just then Eric called again. He left a voicemail. "Lily, don't start drama today. Dad just died. Come back and act like family for once." I turned my phone off. If you're still with me right now, go ahead and like and subscribe, because what happened in the next few days was the real turning point, and that's where everything changed. I locked the unit and drove straight to Mr. Holland's office in downtown Columbus. His office sat inside an old brick building 2 blocks from the courthouse. It was Saturday, technically closed. But he had been waiting for me. I placed the files, the will and the USB drive across his conference table. He reviewed each document wearing gloves, then immediately called his paralegal. Within 30 minutes everything was being scanned. "This is now a matter of probate fraud and possible financial coercion," he told me plainly. "You will not warn your brother. Not even for a minute. We will file in court, request an emergency injunction and freeze all property transactions." I nodded. My eyes burned. But I wasn't crying anymore. That stage had already passed. Now I was just watching how far the truth had rotted. The USB drive held even more. Dad had recorded voice memos. Dates and times were saved. In one recording Eric said, "Just sign it, Dad. Lily's gone half the time anyway. I'm the one here." Dad's voice sounded weak but firm. "No. She's my daughter. Stop saying that." Another recording captured Eric pushing for a bank transfer. Dad said, "I want Holland back on the file." Eric replied, "He's not necessary." I recognized that tone. The same tone Eric used whenever he took control of everything and acted like it was normal. Monday morning we filed the petition in probate court. That same afternoon the court issued a temporary order freezing all estate assets until the hearing. Eric was served the legal papers while apparently discussing a valuation of the house with a realtor. The process server later told me. He went pale real fast. That night the family group chat exploded. Eric accused me of turning the grieving process into a legal circus. His wife Melissa posted a vague message on Facebook. "Some people only show up when there's money." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I had documents. The courtroom wasn't packed on hearing day, but for our family it felt full enough. My aunt. My cousin Jenna. Eric and Melissa. Even 2 people from church showed up. Eric's attorney presented the newer will first, the one giving almost everything to Eric. He claimed Dad had made the decision for practical reasons. Then Mr. Holland stood. He submitted the notarized later will, storage unit inventory, bank irregularities, attempted deed transfers, and finally the voice recordings. For the first time I saw Eric's confidence crack. The judge allowed the recording to play. The courtroom fell silent. Dad's voice echoed through the speakers. "Eric, stop pressuring me. Lily gets half. That is final." Melissa turned toward Eric instantly. My aunt covered her mouth. Eric never looked at me. When I testified, I explained calmly how the phone calls were filtered, how the mail disappeared, how I was told Dad was confused, even while his handwritten notes proved otherwise. I didn't exaggerate. The truth didn't need help. The court didn't issue a final ruling that day. But the judge suspended the questionable will, recognized the later will as presumptively valid, and ordered a full forensic accounting of the estate. An independent administrator was appointed. Eric lost control immediately. And that's when his real collapse began. The forensic review revealed that many house expenses from Dad's account were actually Eric's personal credit card payments, truck upgrades, and even a Florida vacation rental. There was a Venmo trail. Home Depot. Best Buy. Even a base boat dealership. Every single payment didn't prove a crime, but together they painted a very clear picture. Eric had treated Dad's weakness like his personal ATM. After that, I did something he probably never expected. I didn't make a public spectacle. I didn't scream. I didn't start Facebook wars. I simply allowed everything to become part of the official record. When Eric later applied to join the church finance committee, Mr. Holland sent the court restriction summary. The realtor received the title freeze notice. The bank opened a suspicious activity review. Weeks later, Melissa began distancing herself from the situation. And one by one the relatives who had doubted me began texting. I'm sorry. We didn't know. The last thing I did mattered most to me. With permission from the estate administrator, I went into Dad's study and retrieved one framed photo. It showed the two of us at the county fair holding lemonade. On the back Dad had written years earlier, "My girl always tougher than she knows." 6 months later the final settlement was completed. The later will was upheld. The house sold. The cabin sold. Debts were cleared. The remaining money was divided equally. My student loans were paid in full, exactly the way Dad had planned. But the money wasn't the real victory. The real victory was that Eric never got to force his version of the story on the world. The line he repeated, that Dad was disappointed in me, that I was irresponsible, that I deserved nothing. That line ended up buried beneath the official court record. Today I live in a small townhouse in Cincinnati. 2 chairs sit on the porch. Dad's blue mug sits in my kitchen. And the storage unit key still rests inside my desk drawer. Sometimes I hold it and think about how different everything would have been if Mr. Holland hadn't pulled me aside that day. My brother wouldn't have just taken the inheritance. He would have stolen my father's final wishes too. But he couldn't. Because some people tell lies with great confidence. And some people quietly gather evidence. In the end, evidence usually wins. If you think I did the right thing like this story, subscribe for more stories like this. And tell me in the comments, if you were in my place, would you have opened that storage unit too?